Like I said, forget EVs. Literally forget battery technology altogether and just focus on the damn software, you idiots. Woo, baby, it is about to get controversial, very divisive down in that comment section below. Like the days of Apple versus Microsoft, we are talking about me putting my damn money where my mouth is with the only single growth stock at scale that I own in my tax-free savings account, which of course is Tesla. And I want to talk about why I'm still buying this stock today, where I plan on taking it in the future, and the bold thesis that I have in one of the most tumultuous periods of the company's history. If that is a conversation you'd appreciate, damn it, hit that like button. And hell, even if you don't like Tesla stock, I'd love to hear your adverse opinion in that comment section below, because there's no guarantee this works out. And no, this is not financial advice. Currently, I'm down 10% on my Tesla position, though it is still fairly small at about 9,900 US at the value of today's market of 56 shares. I am still looking at buying this for the next 3, 6, potentially 12 months, depending on where this year ends out at. But something tells me the next couple earnings, they're not going to be great, which makes me feel better. Now, why wouldn't I just go back to buying Google or Apple or Amazon, companies that actually have growth? At least a lot better growth than Tesla does today. And that's because I believe people are missing the true thesis of where this is going to be going. And again, I could be completely wrong, but I want to take a note from a gentleman here, Sandy Monroe. If you don't know him, he worked for GM, he worked for Ford, he managed, built factory lines. He understands the auto industry, in my opinion, better than anyone else. And he's under fire recently. Made a viral video, 220,000 views. And I'm going to only play with you 1 minute of this, and it'll give you kind of an idea of why it was so controversial.
But I will tell you one thing. Elon Musk is the greatest person on the planet right now. Nobody else out there, nobody has made a rocket ship that'll go to Mars. Nobody out there has made electrification a reality. You look at that magnificent piece back there, even if you don't like the look of the Cybertruck, look inside. Who the hell, who else is going to be able to push 48 volts, which we should have done in the 1960s? Who else is going to give you an Ethernet, a ring that eliminates a giant amount of CAN bus? Who else is going to give you rear wheel steering? Who else is going to give you steer by wire? Nobody. Why? Because they don't have the brains, they don't have the guts, and they will never, never take a risk. Never, never.
That's true.
The Boring Company, the satellite dishes, all these things come from one guy. And what do these guys want to do? Make it bleed. Make it bleed. Everything they possibly can, they're going to throw them under the bus. But here's the deal. In 100 years, no one will remember any of these jerks.
Now, look, I'm not trying to fluff Elon Musk's pillow here. Like, I'm really not in the mood for inflating the ego, because that's what gets people really offering a lot of hatred toward the guy. And I always find it odd, because when you look back on really famous, CEOs like Steve Jobs, people admire that the dude was an asshole, but the way Elon Musk operates, it's too much for a lot of people, which is understandable. I got nothing against that. The stock has been taking a hammering, but when it comes to this bleed it leads things, the magnification and the money being made and the self-interest of publications, TikTokers, they love talking shit about Tesla because it gets views and it makes them money. And you'll see that everywhere. It goes back as far as 2019. It is just integral to the entire company's history. And I remember in 2019, the stock, when I first dropped it, when I first bought it, it dropped like 40%, and it was the most hated company out there. And then it went unbelievably parabolic, making me like 800+% when I started taking my profit out. And now only recently I'm starting to buy it back, because I'm seeing something that in the future people just don't understand about business, right? Because people think numbers are the only fundamental reality of investing. I mean, there's so many channels out there where they're like, use my calculator to figure out the value of a stock and what price you should be paying for it. It's like those same idiots were the ones that were shorting Nvidia. I'm just saying, like, fundamentals are fugazi in the future of the growth of a business, right? Like, if you do not understand an industry or where a business is going with their products and their services, don't bother investing. I mean, the biggest gains I've ever had in the market had to do with what was going to be in the future for the businesses. It had nothing to do with the fundamentals of the business today. Those are literally my largest gaining stocks, from the MJ markets before legalization to even Tesla, right? And Apple and all these companies that just, they've always had an extreme amount of controversy. Now, Tesla's revenue is starting to flatline. And this is because the entire business is stated as an auto business today, or is what a lot of people like to tell you. And they're not wrong. I mean, the vast majority of Tesla's revenue is coming from shipments, and we know that's slowing down. My debate here is it's one of two things, right? You either think this is a lot to do with this current interest rate environment, people just don't have money to spend like they did in the past. We're seeing that reflect on companies like Apple, or you could think that the EV revolution is dead. I mean, GM, all these companies cut their EV cars. They're not going to keep developing them for the time being. They're pushing them off. They're focusing on hybrids. I'm personally a guy like Sandy Munro who believes that efficiency over all else will win in the long run. And no matter how you want to debate it, EVs are more efficient. You can't argue it. People will. They always try to. The cold weather, you can't charge, you can't do this. It's like, okay, whatever. I mean, you look at one little headline and you think that's the actual entirety of the Tesla fleet's issues. Like, it's like, come on, man. Compare it to other auto companies and the degradation of motors and gas efficiency, whatever. Anyways, you can look at the long run too of electric vehicles. People are like, oh, I can't go that far on a road trip. It's like 95% of people are not driving 500 miles friggin' like, even if you get 300 miles out of a Tesla battery, like in a, let's say the worst 250 miles, are you really driving 250 miles in a day? Like when I look at my map on how much driving and I do more than the average person, probably because my parents are an hour and a half up north. There's no way I could ever eat through that or have to worry about range anxiety, right? But the problem, like I said, is if you either believe it's efficient in the future or you don't. So right now, I mean, your sales revenue are down 13% in auto. Now, energy generation and storage and revenue has been growing nicely, up 7%, with services and other revenue up 25%. Honestly, at this current state, I'm not really worried about any of this. What I'm really kind of paying attention to here is what's coming down the road. And when it comes to the auto business, we're going to be getting basically the next gen platform, which they discussed. I think they're discussing in August. The Roadster is going to be coming out here soon, which honestly, delays. Let's be real. There's one thing Tesla's good at. It is over, hyping and over exaggerating how fast these things are around the corner, which is why I took my money out originally, right? I initially told myself I would never buy Tesla stock until self-driving started generating revenue. But now I want to be in it before that happens because I feel like we're there now. And the ecosystem behind this company, I think, is going to be worth trillions of dollars in the coming decade. I think people are severely underappreciating, what's coming with robotics and self-driving. The fact this is a vertically integrated industry from lithium mining to insurance. And when you look at the value of each of these sectors across the auto industry, and you start understanding like why people have overhyped the valuation of Tesla, because if you look at the valuation today, it's nuts. I mean, you can't base it off the current numbers or you're an idiot. You can't base growth companies stock valuations on numbers. It's just not how they work. It is a different metric of investing. Now, the video that's really got me hyped up as of recently, a lot of people might buy it just for the robots. A lot of people are saying self-driving is going to need all this regulation, all this stuff, even though Google's scaling self-driving in a bunch of different states right now. This video alone is why I think even if you don't like electric vehicles, you're not going to buy a vehicle in the future that doesn't drive itself. Doesn't matter what it is. And either you're gonna have to partner with Tesla if you're GM or Ford or like BYD is doing, or you're gonna have to figure this out for yourself, which they are not doing right now. Like I said, forget EVs. Literally forget battery technology altogether and just focus on the damn software, you idiots. Just watch. It's insane. So this is a fully self-driven, from basically downtown Toronto. This guy comes out of an event, and this is like my backyard, and Toronto's a freaking nightmare to be driving in, and I just can't get over this. On this recent update of version 12.3.6, it drove him out of the underground parking lot and did a 50-minute drive home for him, going through these kind of back laneways with zero intervention. Like, I just can't express to you the value creation of what this software is about to have. Now, it could be another year or 3 years away. I'm not exactly sure, but it is good enough now that clients I work for say they don't drive anymore. People in San Francisco that own Teslas that I literally work with said they've gotten to the point where they just can't get over that. They open the garage door, they turn the thing on, and it takes them to work and back every day. He says he's never had to interact with the car since like some of these recent updates. I mean, look at the navigation of this. It is absolutely astounding. So the future of Tesla, there is no doubt whether the taxi network comes sooner or later. You'd be an idiot if you can buy a car for 40 or 50,000 bucks and you can get self-driving software on it like this. The value creation of that alone, to me, is going to be the only reason people are going to be buying cars in the future. You can argue that all you want, but I think the software side is largely underappreciated how advanced it's become today, which is why I think it's likely in the next 6, 12, 24 months, we're going to start seeing, Tesla pretty much just focus on FSD. I think the entire company's value, forgetting even the EV market, will come down to this. I think you could literally justify a $500 billion market cap just on self-driving software if it efficiently works at scale. Now, again, that's going to take time, but I mean, tell me, how do you put a value on that? And again, you go back to the ecosystem, right? How do you put a value on these humanoid robots? For the first time in history, the machines are now advanced enough to basically meet anything a human's doing in desire or demand or physical function. It's just software, and the software is coming, folks. The software is coming. The hardware is there. We just need the software. So yeah, I am going to continue to buy Tesla stock. It'll be the probably only. I mean, I sold Google in comparable, and Google has way better fundamentals and metrics than Tesla does. But I honestly believe when you look at the scope and the scale of what's coming, give it 10 years. I have really good faith that Tesla is going to outscale the growth at a $500 billion market cap than Google's going to have in the next decade. And I wouldn't be surprised if Tesla at some point will surpass Google. That is my bet. I could be wrong, but hey, at least I put my money where my mouth is, and I'll pass the question off to you. I'd love to know what you think in that comment section below.